Budget measure that expands the midwife professional indemnity insurance scheme to include PII cover for privately practising midwives providing low-risk home births and intrapartum care outside of hospital, and for specified entities providing birthing on country models of care. That sounds really positive, but I've got some questions about the detail. Who decides what constitutes low risk?
Thank you, Senator. Alison McMillan, Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer. So, Senator, a process is underway to define the definition of low-risk home birth. That will include a consultation paper, a consultation with a broad range of organisations and experts. The terminology already exists in the public home birth programs delivered by jurisdictions, and so we will continue to also work closely with our jurisdictional colleagues to determine what low-risk home birth definition will be. And as I say, that work is already underway. Okay.
When will that be completed?
Well, we know that we need to address the requirement for insurance by the 1st of July 2025, but I believe that we will be able to land this probably by, we'll work towards doing it as quickly as possible, but probably towards the end of the calendar year.
Oh, okay, so the budget measure doesn't kick in until that next...
The current exemption exists at the moment until 1st of July 2025, and so the aim is that we will have all work completed to meet that deadline, allowing the exemption to be removed on that date.
Okay, thank you. Will the insurance companies themselves have a role in that consultation?
Senator Daniel McCabe, Acting Deputy Secretary, Health Resourcing. We have one insurer that's going to provide indemnity insurance for midwives, and yes, we will obviously engage with them in the development of this product. But to Professor McMillan's evidence, I think getting consistency with states and territories would be our primary focus, and making sure that we work in step with states and territories.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm just a bit concerned that the insurer will set the risk bar quite low, given that that's in their financial interest. So you would obviously not want them to have the final say on what the definition is.
So, Senator, it's probably also important to note with this budget measure and the arrangements that the Commonwealth will bear 100% of the risk associated with low-risk home births. And
I see.
So it's really something that the Commonwealth
has... So what's the role of the insurance company?
The insurance company is primarily focused on administering the insurance arrangements, managing claims and those things. And also they still provide broader insurance coverage for midwives for their services that exist today, including intrapartum care.
Yes.
But the low-risk home birth model is something that the Commonwealth will fully indemnify.
And that's what the $3.5 million is for, presumably? Is that right?
The $3.5 million is mostly around setting up those arrangements. We don't quantify those liabilities. That's something that we would deal with on a case-by-case basis when claims come through.
Oh, I see. But the responsibility to pay it is yours, but you don't need to set a figure in advance.
That's right.
Okay, interesting. Will the low risk definition, once it's decided, have any relevance for those other features that the insurer provides in the midwifery space?
Look, I think obviously getting that definition very clear will be important in terms of what that might mean for the overall insurance product. But I don't have any views at this point as to whether that would change anything. I think we need to go through that work first.
Okay, thank you. And so, sorry, you said you'd start that work towards the end of the calendar year?
The work, Senator, the work to develop a definition is already underway. Important in this is the consultation, including with consumers, and so that process needs to be developed, but aiming to be well in advance of the due date, which is the 1st of July.
So, Senator, it's probably important we will need to conclude and make sure that definition is very clear to all midwives and to the insurer later in this year, so they have time to update their policies and make those policies available to midwives. So it'll have to be resolved very quickly.
That shouldn't result in an increased premium, though, given that the Commonwealth's bearing the liability. Is that right?
Look, that would be my understanding, but we need, as I said before, we need to go through that work and make sure we're clear about the definition.
Make sure they don't use it as a chance to profiteer.
Yes.
You mentioned that consumers would be consulted. Do you have a predetermined list, or how will you go about choosing who will be consulted?
We're working with Consumer Health Forum, who's obviously a very important part of our consumer consultation Senator, also working obviously with organisations including the Australian College of Midwives, who also have a very good connection into consumers. And as we work through this, I'm sure we will invite other groups to be a part of that consultation.
Okay, so it will be an invite only rather than an open consult?
We haven't finalised the details of the consultation, but we will be welcoming. We are open to hear the views and opinions of a wide range of consumers, because this is an important part of women's health and women's choice.
Thank you. Just for my own understanding, so understand that you'll set the rules about low risk and then the insurance will flow. But if a woman wants to birth at home and she is not considered low risk, but still wants to birth at home, how will she be supported to get care to do that?
So, Senator, there are a set of guidelines that were developed where women who may make a choice to home birth are categorised into three categories of A, B and C. Mm-hmm. Obviously, those that meet those selection criteria for low birth are category A. Those that don't meet that but might be in category B, and there are very clear guidelines developed in relation to this by the Australian College of Midwives, then there needs to be a consultation with an obstetrician and other experts to determine whether there are means and measures by which the woman and baby's safety can be facilitated through a home birth, or whether then there needs to be a decision that that woman would need to birth in a hospital. The midwives and the clinicians will work with that woman to help them make the best decision for them and their baby at that point in time.
And what was the category C then, if that's
Category C is a woman who would be considered not to be appropriate for a home birth, and that woman would need to birth in a hospital.
Okay, so the answer to the question of if they want to have a home birth but they're not low risk, can they get care? The answer is no. They'll be told to go to hospital.
Yes. Yes, Senator.
Is anyone looking at whether that's actually giving effect to people's wishes, noting that safety is important? Is that under review?
It is a very tricky space, Senator, about, for instance, even in the circumstances where a woman is deemed to be low risk and a home birth commences, there may be circumstances where things change, and therefore it's advisable for a woman to be moved to hospital where they can be provided with the best possible care that we can provide. The midwife, clinicians and others would work with that woman to help them understand the risk to her and her baby, and about how making an informed decision about where they choose to birth.
Okay, so in answer to the question of whether that approach is under review, the answer is no.
It is part of the consultation guidelines, and we will need to ensure that our consultation guidelines are contemporary as a part of the review of this process.
Thank you. I'm glad to hear that. I think there'll be strong views about that.
There are strong views.
Yes.